Silence, Stelte and Hoff. Stelte. The honorable members, we are back. Let's welcome Honorable Sangon. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. Good afternoon, honorable members. Afternoon, General Vuma. Thank you so much, Chair.
Ms. Delana Stakahali.
Afternoon, Chair. Yes, in terms of the report, Honorable Matthias, so I've spoken to Andile and I've also seen the documents. We have drafted an affidavit for a speaker to do a confirmatory affidavit. The Secretary to Parliament has also done an affidavit. Those are both completed. They are with the Office of the Secretary to Parliament for his signature. As soon as he signs and commissions it, he will walk all the documents over to the police station and then lay a charge. And these include both the Nkabindi matter as well as the disrespect or walkout in terms of Poplar.
Mr. Romano.
Chair, the letter that was sent to the Speaker has been shared in the group together with the response that we got from the Speaker.
Okay, that is the report on those items. Advocate Mukiza.
Thank you, Chairperson. General, you were just at the point of concluding your last section. And if I may direct you, we are at paragraph 62 of your statement.
Yeah, let's start by reporting on what we agreed on. What is the agreement?
Chairperson, you can
Let's go and get tell us how you have agreed.
Chairperson, the General and I have had a moment to talk to see how much more time she would need in her evidence. A lot of the critical things that she wanted to be dealt with have already been, she has testified about them, and General thinks that we both agreed that she could conclude it in an hour.
In an hour?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Yeah. Honorable members would have noticed that part of the witness statement has similarities to matters that we had to deal with when General Patlani came before us, labor matters. And we feel that we have allocated the witness enough time between 10 o'clock and 1 to share with us on those matters. And that we don't turn a blind eye to that if she feels that there are particular experiences which she may want to share with us on labor, on conditions of service, and which may help us in the legislative and policy reform. She can always, she's at liberty to raise those matters with us. I mean, one personal experience can help us to put in place institutional arrangements that can help future generations. So we are proceeding with that understanding, and both the witness and the evidence leader have said that they will try and make sure that in an hour or just after an hour, they would have concluded. Thank you so much. Am I representing you well, General Vuma and Advocate Mkhize?
Yes, Honorable Chair. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you say the benevolent chairperson because I have said everything that you said. I must come and say here. We can proceed. And we must thank the honorable members for their generosity and patience.
Thank you, honorable members, for your generosity and patience, for the general to be able to deal with her issues properly. General, we were at just concluding the last section that we were dealing with. And at paragraph 62 is where I would like to begin. At paragraph 62, in summary, what would you close off that section, which was titled General Masemola's Abuse of Disciplinary Process. What is your conclusion regarding General Masemola's actions in instituting disciplinary proceedings against you, especially considering your protected disclosures that would be at the paragraph I just directed you to?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thanks for the opportunity. In that paragraph, I'm just highlighting the fact that the general has got the prerogative to institute disciplinary processes as and when he deemed it necessary. However, I'm highlighting that he is not entitled to abusive progress, to an abusive prerogative. That's all I think what is important in that particular paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, General. So Lieutenant General Vuma, at paragraph 63, you state that on 4 August 2023, General Masemola issued a letter of the notice of the alleged misconduct. What issue, what misconduct was alleged against you?
This is a repetition of the misconduct that was initially issued during the first suspension of the 8th July. However, in this instance, they have now opened a case of defeating the ends of justice, but the facts and everything is the same of the IPID matter. And okay, 64, sorry.
When you say it's the same, could you elaborate on what you mean by that? You said it's very similar to one that was initially, you were initially charged with, and now there's another one under IPID. Perhaps you could just, if I can give you an opportunity to elaborate on what you mean by that.
I am saying it is the same because it is the same matter of Judge Davis where the court said that we have breached the IPID court by not providing information to IPID. So the facts and the attachment and everything is exactly the same, except that here there is a case number of 571 January 2022.
You may continue. Paragraph 64 and 65.
On paragraph 64, I'm highlighting that that matter was ventilated at the SSBC through the hearing process that was conducted, and a verdict was issued by a commissioner. However, it is coming back under the case number.
Okay. What was the verdict?
The verdict was that General Masemola or SAPS is precluded from disciplining me, and they have waived their right to discipline me.
And you,
On the matter. So,
okay. So what did General Masemola do, the day after the ruling? That is now at paragraph 64.
After the ruling, General Masemola appointed the General Mohlala to produce a report on the very same matter and to take me to an expeditious process. Yeah, through those recommendations from IPID, and those recommendations were dated May 2023. Yes.
Was the expeditious process initiated?
The expeditious process was halted due to the fact that IPID submitted recommendations to say that they have finalized the investigation while they haven't even started in terms of that criminal case number. On the 7th of July, the investigator of IPID approaches me to say that he is investigating. In fact, he approaches me before the 7th saying, I need to submit a warning statement by the 7th of July. And I requested an extension to the 12th of July. On the 12th of July, I submitted the statement to Mr. Kanye, a warning statement in that particular case.
By setting out those dates, what should the committee make of Mr. Kanye's actions?
I think it should be made out of the IPID itself, because remember, though the negative recommendations was signed by the IPID head together with the covering letter that outlined the fact that they've finalized with the investigation. Maybe they did not even intend to conduct an investigation, but later decided that because this is a criminal matter cannot be finalized until a warning statement is submitted to the prosecutor for a decision. I think they discovered that, then they started to appoint Kanye later. I can only say of the institution, not necessarily the investigating office.
Okay. Once the warning statements were taken, did the matter proceed?
It never proceeded. The prosecutor declined to prosecute.
Are you aware of a decision of the reasons why the prosecutor refused to prosecute?
The investigating officer, Mr. Kanye, informed me telephonically, and I requested him to send me the document. In that regard, he said his superiors refused. So I don't know what was the reason for the nil prosecute.
Okay. So in setting out this section called IPID matters, what do you wish to highlight in this section of your testimony?
What I want to highlight here is the fact that institutions such as SAPS has got proper policies. We also have legislative framework like the Labor Relations Act and many others that are there for the organizations to utilize, even the discipline regulations, which are the policies for regulating the conduct or misconduct. However, it seems like the challenge is human being in the abuse of such processes.
Although we're not going to deal with the entire section, starting from paragraph 68, if you could maybe, for the purpose of the record, explain why you deal with this section. You start off at paragraph 68, and if you may just comment on that section.
Okay.
Without dealing with the specific cases.
Okay. Here I'm just demonstrating what I just said now, that SAPS, for example, as an organization of law and order, it is required to abide with legislative framework, directive, etc. But we find individuals who are abusing those processes for their own whatever gain or objectives. Now, as people get subjected to this thing, to these other processes, there are rulings, for instance, here where all those disciplinary cases that were leveled against me, I got rulings on them, but at the end of the day, they were not implemented. That can only highlight the level of abuse at the highest level. And these things, if I may also add, it doesn't come free of charge. There is a lot of state money that is being utilized because senior councils, as I said earlier on, are appointed to deal with these matters.
And that abuse that you highlight and is particularly dealing with the legal costs, you've testified at length that you had to defend yourself in these matters. How did you manage to deal with the legal costs pertaining to those, or were those because of your you were still employed? How did you deal? If you would you like to comment further regarding the legal costs?
I did apply it as it is allowed in terms of the policy in the SAPS that we may be assisted by legal assistance when we are being charged or in regards to matters or issues that we executed in line of duty. However, mine were never approved. And as we speak, I am sitting with a huge bill of legal cost, and I have even put my house on the market in order to downgrade my lifestyle so that I'm able to get the money to pay those legal costs.
And that's why is that the reason why you set out that section as abuse of the system?
Yes.
Okay. Lieutenant General, if I can then just ask you to turn to page 29 of your statement, starting at paragraph 70.
Okay.
There you deal with attempts by General Masemola to silence you by way of non-disclosure clause in a retirement package proposal. You say that on or around October 2024, an offer was made. What offer did General Masemola make to you in a case against him?
An offer was made to me that I must accept. An offer was made to me that I must accept to retire early on condition that they will pay me beyond my retirement period. Then they will withdraw all these allegations that they have leveled against me. And in that offer, I was supposed to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which I refused because my determination was to clear my name.
So you refused the offer?
I refused the offer, yes.
Okay. How did General Masemola react to your refusal of the offer? That is at paragraph 71.
In reacting to that, they went to change these PPE charges. These PPE charges, I was charged it in 3 different forms, but it's emanating from the same thing. They went to change those charges, and they subpoenaed me on another expeditious process, which is supposed to be chaired by Lieutenant General Tombeni of the Provincial Commissioner of Gauteng. That is the time when I took the matter to court.
As part of the proposal, perhaps before we talk about the new charges, you testified that you would receive a retirement package at a higher rate than what you would have expected in exchange for dropping charges against General Masemola, which you instituted.
I don't understand.
What the exchange that you testified about. You said that you were offered a much higher package in exchange for what were you going to do it in exchange for?
This package was offered to me because Masemola was supposed to come and testify in my 3 cases of unlawful suspensions. So for me to drop that, not for him to come and testify, he had to give me this offer so that I cancel that particular process.
Okay. So the question pertains exactly to that. So those 3 cases that you'd instituted,
Yeah,
in which forums had you instituted them?
in the SSBC.
Upon your refusal to take the offer, did those matters proceed? That's the question.
Those matters did not proceed because when I took the matter of the expeditious process by Lieutenant General Mtombeni to court, Masemola came with an offer of saying, which was finally made the order of the court on the 5th of February, where the agreement obviously there was reached that he will withdraw all his sort of review cases and I must withdraw this one. They were only reviewed by this court order.
Okay. And what was the outcome?
The outcome was that
What did you agree on? Yeah.
the agreement was that I must withdraw these 3 cases. They will withdraw remember I just shown the rulings. I just shown the rulings of the cases that I've won, which were not implemented. So he said they will withdraw those review because they said they are reviewing all those rulings. They will withdraw all of them. Then we agreed because my main determination was to clear myself. Then I said, let us leave this case and deal with it in a normal process, which was the order of the court.
Okay. In the next section where you deal with the court order of 5 February, you've now dealt with it. Is there any other thing that you would like to say on that section?
I think I've explained in detail that particular
Okay.
process.
Lieutenant General Vuma, we are now at paragraph 75 of your statement. And this section deals with the appointment of the Divisional Commissioner, TMS, and her termination of service. During General Sitole's tenure, who was appointed Divisional Commissioner for Technology Management Services, TMS?
Lieutenant General Tunzelane was appointed as a Divisional Commissioner for TMS during that time, and the minister was not actually happy about that appointment to such an extent that he wrote a letter to the National Commissioner to withdraw that appointment, which is attached.
Why was the minister not happy?
The minister said he wanted to appoint General Mavunda is the current Divisional Commissioner of TMS, which he was later appointed after this Divisional Commissioner was dismissed.
Okay. At the time that the proposal was being made for the then TMS commissioner, where was General Mavunda? In which position?
He was a component head. He was one of the major generals under the very same environment.
Okay. You deal with the minister's reaction at Annexure FNV 59. And that can be found at page 1544. There, in the next paragraph, at 76, what was discovered during the finalization of her employment?
During the finalization of the appointment of this Lieutenant General, it was discovered that she was starting for the first time to declare that she was dismissed in 5 different employment when she did not disclose that information in the application form when she had to be shortlisted and interviewed, because there is a provision made for such declaration. So when that matter was discovered, the HRM highlighted that to me, and I engaged her. She couldn't explain herself why she did not do that in the first place when she applied. Then I appointed a Major General to go and conduct an not a Major General, pardon, a Brigadier Gininda, to go and conduct an investigation to ascertain and find out the full facts of that particular matter of those dismissals. And indeed, a report was produced and it was found to be true. Then I started to prepare the documentation, because when a person is appointed, there are conditional appointment. Part of the conditional appointment highlights that on condition that there are no illicit things found against her and there are no, he or she passed the security vetting process. So I prepared the document, and when General Masemola was employed, I briefed him of all what has happened up to the status where we were at the time, and he was okay with it. So he had to sign the final document of the dismissal of this particular divisional commission.
Okay. To that end, you submit, you attach annexures FNV 59 and FNV 60. They can be found at page 1544 to 1545 of the bundle. At 1544 is a letter addressed to Dr. Tunzelana, and it's the termination of employment contract that you have testified to, which was signed by General Masemola. That's the one that you are relying on. And then on the next page is your appointment, is the appointment letter of Brigadier Gininda to institute an investigation.
Yes.
What were the findings of that investigation?
The findings were that, amongst others, she was dismissed for absenting herself from work, for reporting late, for insubordination of her superiors, and many other reasons.
Okay. So, what difficulties did you encounter regarding her termination? And how did General Masemola respond to your requests to sign the final documents at paragraph 78? Just very briefly.
After I briefed General Masemola and he was waiting for the documents and I needed for this lady to sign, I discovered that General Masemola and General Cele were meeting this lady on the sides behind my back, where the lady promised them that she can make them rich only if they can deal with me, utilizing the tenders that were being concluded at the division inspectorate. So she was advised to put a grievance against me, a grievance which was given to certain Deputy National Commissioner to investigate. And once that, in terms of discipline regulation, and once that is done, it will be easy for them to get rid of me. Now, when I heard about that information, you know, I'm also in the police. I approached General Jinga, who was given the grievance, who agreed and gave me all the information, amongst others, that yes, there is a plan to get rid of you, and I'm given this grievance. And I said, but a grievance is not dealt with in that particular manner. There is a grievance procedure. A grievance, even if it is about me, it must still be given to me to handle it. So there are no guidelines for you to do what you are doing. She quickly agreed and succumbed and said, I'm going to return the grievance back. I'm going to write them a letter. And she was due, unfortunately, for retirement that month. She returned the grievance back to Masemola.
Okay. How did you react to that? Did you confront any person who was involved?
Yes, when I was discussing this matter with Lieutenant General Nchinga, we were in Eastern Cape on the second Minimac that I spoke about earlier on. When we came back, the very same Monday, I approached General Masemola, highlighting this matter and many other matters that I've already alluded to that happened before the June. It was in June now. And I asked Masemola that if you don't see me as part of your future in your leadership, please indicate to me. I will freely leave for your incumbent to take up the post. He said, no, it is not true. And he wanted to know the reasons, as I already explained. And he started to also confirm that, yes, we are meeting this lady. Most of the time, the lady is meeting the minister. Then he reminded me in that meeting in Eastern Cape that we remember after lunch when that lady, because that lady came to the meeting and she was disguised like it's Otsi, so to say. I wanted to serve her those documents, and the minister came from the chair to tell me that, please, don't serve that lady the documents now. Wait until after lunch. After lunch, the lady was nowhere to be found. He said, you remember after lunch, the minister was not in the meeting. He was in a meeting with that lady, and the meeting was chaired by the DM. So he said his concern, his response was, he is happy with my work. He doesn't have a problem with me. That was the mid-June. But unfortunately, by end of June, this served me with the document to suspend.
So basically, given your testimony, you have attested that at all times, General Masemola was aware of the complaints that you had and the treatment that Minister Cele, in the manner in which he was treating you and the manner in which certain persons were getting favors above you as being a senior official within SAPS. Did you ever take it any further, perhaps to the police portfolio committee at Parliament? Did you ever report this anywhere regarding this unfair treatment?
While I was thinking about putting a protected disclosure, that is when General Masemola served me with the document with the intention to suspend me. But I nevertheless continued to put a protected disclosure. That's the only time I reported part of the treatment that I was experiencing.
You testified earlier that you also wrote a letter to the president. Did you respond? Did you get a response in respect of that protected disclosure?
The president was the first respondent in my protected disclosure. I never received any response from that. But in the email, I saw it was, because you can see in the email if a document has been received, it was received.
Okay. We now deal with the next section, which is titled SIU Investigation by Mr. Tabata and the team. At paragraph 80 of your statement, you say that on the 20th of June, 2022, you were summoned by Mr. Matabata of SIU on an interview about PPE issued to the Red Roses on 1 April 2020. Is this the same contract? Is this the same complaint as the one that you were explaining to Honorable Ngola and the committee?
Yes, they say the content is exactly the same, what I explained earlier on.
So you've sufficiently dealt with
Yes.
that part.
Yes.
So at paragraph 81, what
Is-
allegations, pardon? Okay.
It's the same continuation.
The
of
continuation.
that matter up until paragraph, it ends in paragraph 83, if I'm not mistaken. Because it also covers this CFO thing that I've already explained earlier on.
Okay. So we should pick up at paragraph 84. Or is that
It's
entire
covered.
section
It's-
dealt with?
It covers up to paragraph 86. We can pick up on paragraph 86. I've explained in detail those other ones.
So paragraph, the section on paragraph that relates to paragraph 86 is handing over the report, National Commissioner of the SAPS, briefing on certain high-profile matters by the DNC Support Services, FN Vuma. After General Masemola became National Commissioner, did you brief him on important matters your office was handling? And when would you have done this? If so, when?
I did brief Masemola in May, and this is also part of the matters I touched on when I was dealing with another paragraph where I said General Masemola was not happy with those paragraphs that I mentioned today, 3.3, 3.4, 3.6, 3.7, and 3.8, where it highlighted to the senior managers that we were, their matters were at the council and the Patlanes matter, where he was saying, why don't you just leave these matters, you guys, and proceed with other responsibilities? But as I explained earlier on, it could not be done.
What was your reaction to the matters you presented?
My reaction.
What was his reaction, General Masemola's reaction?
His reaction is what I just said, that he said these matters must just be left to die a silent death.
So,
And I said, no, we cannot, because these matters we have valid. For example, in one of General She's, it was on the following week. So I was supposed to go and testify on it, which I suspected that amongst others, that when I was suspended this week, next week, the case set. And I couldn't go because when you are suspended, all powers are taken away from you. So I told the council who invited me and that I won't be able to go, but I was subpoenaed through Masemola. Then I went to testify and we won that particular case.
you attach an annexure FNV 62, which is an information note on handing over the report. It is at page 1626 of the bundle. Is there any comment you have in regard to this information note?
I have already explained it as I was explaining this particular paragraph. That is the document I used to brief General Masemola with.
So the next section then, Lieutenant General Vuma, is the meeting between yourself and General Masemola. You say that on 13 June 2022, you approached the National Commissioner and had a deep conversation with him. What was the what was the content of the deep conversation, and why do you label it deep?
It was deep conversation, as I alluded earlier on, that having highlighted the experience in which he was treating me, how he was dealing with my subordinates, but expecting me to account in the matter of this general of TMS, and many other issues that I highlighted to him. That's when I requested him that he can release me early, in an early retirement, if he doesn't feel comfortable working with me.
What was his response to that offer that you made to him, or suggestion rather?
He said he is happy with my work, and that's when he explained to me what happened when we were in Western Cape, in Eastern Cape after lunch, with regards to the engagement of the minister with the Lieutenant General Tunzelani. But he assured me that he's happy with my work.
This was on 13 June 2022,
Yes.
and you subsequently got suspended 3 weeks later.
Intention was on the 30th of June. 2 weeks.
2 weeks later. Okay. Although he said he was happy, did you ever ask him regarding your suspension, the intention to suspend, what has changed? Because you'd spoken 2 weeks earlier, and he informed you that he was happy with you and your progress. But then 2 weeks later, he reacts in a manner in which would have been unexpected to you. Did you ever ask him, especially because you've also testified that you would have deep conversations?
I did ask him, and he responded by saying he's got pressure from above and external forces to remove me.
Did you ask what he meant by pressure from above?
Looking at the document that he was serving me on, it was the document with regards to this IPID matter, which I know General Kele has always in every meeting. There's no meeting I will finish with General Kele without him mentioning that. How are you going to deal with this matter of the IPID? The judge has pronounced on you, and I used to explain that. But when you deal with the disciplinary matters, it's just like when you deal with a criminal matter. Everyone is looked according to the role they've played in the matter. So whoever will have to focus on my role. And I don't think my role, the little role I played in that matter, really can send me to dismissal. And I even told him that in the very same matter, immediately after the finalization of the Constitutional Court, and I'm sorry, maybe I might be jumping, IDEC did interview me with the prosecutor, and they did not prosecute me because of the role I played in that matter. I explained all these things even to General Masemola when he was serving me with those documents. So I knew that if he says from above, it should be General Kele, because he has always been speaking to me about this matter.
Okay. So you drew that inference without necessarily clarifying with him. Is that, am I correct to understand that?
Yes.
Okay. You also testified that he would constantly remind you about the IPID matters. Would he do this in the presence of other people, or would he do this privately to you? How did he communicate? Or remind you that there's this IPID matter?
He will do that when it is only the two of us. And when he does it, I could see that he was trying sort of to make me feel that he is the only person who can protect me in this matter. So there was a certain stage when I asked him a question that I'm looking forward to know or to see who is going to charge me on this, because that person must take into consideration the fact that besides Judge Davis' pronouncement, there are other legislative framework, like the mandate for classification of document and handing over to IPID. That person must first prove to me that do I have such a mandate.
Okay. Lieutenant General, at paragraph 89 to paragraph 90, there you have a section that deals with the SSBC agreement, 1 of 2020, regarding the SAPS organizational structure. Would you like to comment about those paragraphs?
Yes, of course, in a summary, this is the agreement where the new police structure was investigated, and it was consulted at the Triple SBC, where the two organized union that are recognized as SAPS approved it, and it was supposed to be implemented. And that is exactly where the National Commissioner appointed the 3 DNCs. Remember, I spoke earlier on that there were 6 DNCs at a time. Due to compensation budget being cut by treasurer, they had to be reduced to 3, and many other divisions had to be streamlined and cut. So this was the structure that was being implemented. The National Commissioner appointed the National Matching and Placing Committee, which consisted of myself as the chairperson, all DNCs, plus the head of the DPCI, HRM, Legal Services, to match and place people, where HRM was presenting the profiles of people, and recommendations were presented to the National Commissioner. And National Commissioner engaged on extensive consultation with those relevant senior managers that their placement were proposed. The reason is, when that structure was pronounced, all posts, in exception of the post of a national commissioner and provincial commissioners, were declared vacant, meaning the whole organization has to embark on a restructuring. So after those recommendations were submitted to the National Commissioner, through all other processes having been adhered to, it had to be submitted to the Minister.
Thank you, General. We are now at paragraph 91 of your statement. That section deals with Public Service Commission investigation on the appointment of Major General Nkosi.
So still there, the same issue I explained earlier on of Major General Nkosi. Even during the process of that particular matching and placing, the decision of that matching and placing committee was the same with what I had done earlier on. So, which of course the minister challenged, that he was not happy, and he said we did not follow the due process in terms of the audit charter. But we provided all the necessary documentation and information, even to Mr. Mangugu at the time, who was the chairperson of the audit committee. And finally, Mangugu adhered that no, they did engage me. But initially, Mangugu was also complaining with the minister.
Yeah. So this is the same Major General Nkosi that you testified about earlier this morning?
Yes.
Okay. So that entire section from paragraph 91 all the way up to 93. We have covered that, or is there anything else within those paragraphs that you still need to deal with?
In dealing with those, with that particular matter of General Nkosi, Minister wrote a letter to General Sithole complaining about 2 individuals who were in that letter of matching and placing, where he was not happy with General Jacobs, who was now being permanently placed. Remember, he was initially on a temporary basis at Division Inspectorate. So this time he was being placed permanently, and he did not have a problem, I must say, General Jacobs, to be permanently placed at Inspectorate, and General Nkosi. So he wrote and he said, until these 2 matters are resolved, he is not going to sign that particular matter. He needed to engage with the National Commissioner, a process which never happened up until today.
Okay. So that now takes us, General, to paragraph 94. There you deal with the letter that was addressed to the public protector. That letter can be found as 3 annexures. Annexure FNV 67, FNV 68, FNV 69. It starts at page 160 1677 of your annexure bundle. So that's 1677, and it ends at 1683. But if I can just then take you to the contents of your paragraph. It's the last bundle, it's the third bundle. Yeah. It starts at 1677, yes. But General, I actually wish to just take you through your paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah. At paragraph 94, you say that you reference the letter, and can you confirm that this letter was received by General Sithole, and what was its contents?
The letter was received by General Sithole, and its contents related to the very same matter of Lieutenant General Jacob's discipline, which General Kele wrote to the National Commissioner that he must hold any disciplinary matters against General Jacobs. So it wanted certain documentation in regard to the investigation that it was conducting, which was submitted.
Okay, so who wrote, was there a process on your end that was initiated to the public protector, or had the public protector out of their office written a letter addressed to General Sithole? If you can perhaps explain the context of the letter.
The letter highlighted that, though I don't see it now, but I know for a fact that it highlighted that.
Perhaps you can take us through the actual paragraph.
It received a complaint, the public protector, okay. General Sithole received a letter from the public protector of the Republic of South Africa, wherein it indicated that they received a complaint with regard to Minister Kele holding the suspension and disciplinary process of General Jacobs in the Division Crime Intelligence in connection with the personal protective equipment fraud, and thereby violating the sections as mentioned there. The letter of the public protector was dated the 3rd of June 2021, and the letter was seeking certain information, amongst others, correspondence between the two of them. The letter where the Sithole responded to the letter of General Kele at a time where General Sithole put his foot down on being bullied by the minister and putting in abeyance all investigations and intended suspension of General Jacobs, which is hereby attached, which is hereby dated the 4th of December 2020. The copies, all those relevant copies are attached as annexures.
Okay. Somebody's going to assist you to find the letter. It's in bundle 3, 1677. And the letter is dated the 3rd of June 2021. And it is addressed to Lieutenant General Kehla Sithole, the National Commissioner. I suppose it meant General Sithole. And it's regarding investigations into allegations of violation of the Executive Ethics Code by the Minister of Police, Mr. Bheki Cele. And at paragraph 1 of the letter, it says, please be advised that the public protector is investigating a complaint from Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, regarding allegations of a possible violation of the Executive Ethics Code by the Minister of Police, Mr. Bheki Cele. It then, at paragraph 5, if I may jump, it deals with the complaint. The complaint being filed by a member of parliament, Mr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. And it sets out it lists the complaints which pertain to Lieutenant General Jacobs, specifically regarding the PPE contracts that you would have testified about. What was General Sitole's reaction? You testified that you were investigating the PPE contracts, despite that you were later investigated for them, but you were also investigating them. They are listed in the in your protected disclosures as well. Did this letter come to your attention? And what was the reaction of the office of the commissioner regarding this letter?
It came to my attention as a result that I was equally dealing with my with correspondence on my personal or position as a DNC for support services, but at the same time, some of the work of the National Commission will be given to me to compile those responses, including the responses to the minister. When there are issues that the minister wants a correspondence report in, I was dealing with all those matters.
Okay. You also testified that you were also investigating
This matter,
General Jacobs,
Yes.
Lieutenant General Jacobs as well. So the minister's reaction can be found at 1681. And the letter is dated, it can't be, the letter that is attached to the minister from the police and from the minister, the Ministry of Police are attached as 181 and 183, which is what you rely on. But those letters are predate the letter of the public protector. And they also deal with the same subject matter.
I agree, Honorable Chair. Remember, these were the documents that were requested by public protector in terms of what unfolded prior to this complaint they received. These are amongst others the documents that were forwarded to public protector.
Oh, so this is what the General Sitole would have provided to the public protector
Yes.
regarding the complaint,
Yeah.
in assisting with the complaint.
Yeah, so here I'm only highlighting what is relevant to this, that General Stolle responded, General Tele wrote to Stolle, Stolle responded to him in saying, I will not stop this because in terms of other legislative process and policies, I'm equally responsible for initiating a disciplinary process.
Okay. And would you say that in Minister Pele addressing a letter to General Stolle, would that have amounted to interference from a political figure in the administration, in the operational issues?
Yes, I would say so.
Would you like to elaborate or expand on that?
Discipline is a line manager responsibility. There are policies that prescribe how discipline must be handled. So it was the responsibility of the National Commissioner to finalize matters of discipline for General Jacobs without the interference of the minister. The minister, if he needed information, he maybe should have called General Stolle and asked to be explained what is happening, etc., but not to stop it. Thanks.
Are you aware of the public protector's final report pertaining to this matter?
I am not aware.
We now go to the following section, which is the meeting between Minister Cele and Lieutenant General Tunzelani. That section, you talk about meetings that took place. If I'm not mistaken, you have already testified about this section. Is there anything that we may have left out as you introduced it, because you dealt with it when you were dealing with your protected disclosures, perhaps for the sake of completion?
I think I've highlighted most of the critical aspects in that this might have been a duplication omission.
Okay. That now takes us to paragraph 99. the lost and found of my iPad.
I'm there.
Yes,
You
may.
want me, can I? Okay.
You can lead.
Here I'm highlighting that during that meeting of MINMEC in East London, when we finished the work on our way back to the airport, I checked in at the airport together with my iPad as well as the laptop. In the seat I was sitting in the plane, I was sitting with the, two protectors of the minister. The minister was somewhere in front. And I slept. Unfortunately, I was tired. On arriving at the OR Tambo, I alighted the flight, but these protectors remained in the plane. And I was wondering why, because we were taken by buses and the minister was long gone. But I didn't realize that something wrong had happened. Now, on Tuesday, it was on Friday, on Tuesday when I needed my iPad, which I use for Parliament matters, I couldn't find it in the bag. And I remember that I checked in with this iPad when I was handing over the laptop at the airport. Now, I requested the principal officer of Parliament to track my iPad through that functionality. They checked it and it was discovered back where in Eastern Cape, between the guest house, I was never to, it was moving between the guest house and the hotel I slept in. Then on Wednesday, I requested them to activate that sound. They activated the sound and the iPad was found at the hotel where I slept, at the restaurant, making noise alone. No one was attending to it. I don't know whether the person ran away or whatever happened. Now, the issue is I only went to the restaurant on arrival on Wednesday. I was never at the restaurant and I used that iPad during the meeting and I checked in with the iPad. How it went back, it was very strange for me. When I requested that they must arrange the hotel to bring it, it was brought to my office by the provincial head of crime intelligence of Eastern Cape. That was strange to me. I suspect those protectors took it in the plane.
Although when you checked it under Find My iPad, it was in the Eastern Cape.
Back to Eastern Cape.
Okay. So your suspicion, you writing, dealing with those paragraphs, it's just to highlight that the minister's protectors may have taken your iPad, but it's also possible that you could have left it at the hotel.
I never left it. I used it. The presentation for the IDT that I'm talking about, it was in that iPad. I presented in that meeting on Friday.
Okay. Lieutenant General, we are now at paragraph 102.
Okay.
Before with that paragraph, you were the senior, you were the DNC at in that period when your iPad was stolen, and you had access to investigators who could have assisted you in trying to understand what could have happened to your iPad. Did you ever initiate any investigation regarding its disappearance on the plane?
I never initiated that, as I said that the iPad was recovered and it was brought back to me. And there were strange things that I was already experiencing. So I felt that it's fine as long as I got the iPad back.
Okay. And finally, when you received it back, was your information still intact?
Fortunately, majority of the information in that iPad belonged to Parliament. There were only a few presentations that I have put in, like the one I was going to present at that meeting.
Okay. We are at paragraph 102. Do you wish to deal with that paragraph?
This paragraph, just to highlight that My first encounter with General Cele happened back when he was still the National Commissioner. I will summarize it. When General Ndluli was appointed as the Divisional Commissioner for Crime Intelligence, he found me at Crime Intelligence and I was working with Dr. De Kock in the Crime Research, Integrity and Statistics. Then he changed me to a support services function. While I was working for support services, there was a colonel who was working at Colonel Ross, who was working at the internal audit for Secret Service account. That colonel was conducting audits. General Ndluli moved that colonel to my environment. And when that colonel came to my environment, he started to disclose a lot of corruption that they were detecting when they conducted audits in the Secret Service account. Fast track, as he was paranoid, he was receiving some threats as well. Now, he requested me to organize a meeting with him to go and see the National Commissioner and brief him, which I did. Unfortunately, on that day, when I was to accompany him to the National Commissioner's office, which was General Cele, General Ndluli organized a meeting 6 o'clock with us. So I had to be in that 6 o'clock in the morning meeting. He went alone, this colonel. He was, when he came back, he briefed me that he was made to see General Ngwenya and brief General Ngwenya with all the challenges and problems that he was experiencing. A week later, I was called, a week or so, I was called by the Divisional Commissioner for Human Resource, Lieutenant General Mufume, who informed me that he was at the meeting with the National Commissioner Cele and General Ngwenya, and he was instructed to redeploy me. Fortunately, because there were many things that were happening there during that time, I already arranged with Divisional Commissioner of Inspectorate that I wanted to come and work with him. So this DIVCOM was asking me, I don't know, where do you want to go? I said, don't worry. Take me to General Rasikhatla at Inspectorate. This is how I moved. I left Crime Intelligence. Thank you very much.
Lieutenant General, do you wish to make any further comment? What inference must be drawn from the submissions that you've just made, what you've just testified? Because now you take us back to the time that Minister Cele was the Commissioner of Police. And it seems that perhaps that's when your challenges would have begun. Do you wish to comment on that?
Yes, I would like to. That is why I had to bring this only aspect to say that maybe I was ignorant. I didn't realize that from that time up until when the minister was a minister, he did not take kindly of the fact that maybe I was exposed to certain things or that were being done at Crime Intelligence, etc., etc. I don't know, but I felt that it means this anonymity or whatever it is had always been with him in regards to me. Hence, I received this particular treatment because over and above, and as I said earlier on, I'm not saying I'm immune from any other processes, but when processes are instituted, there is policy guidelines, there's act, it must be taken to its finality rather than to just keep them hanging and keeping you hanged without knowing whether we are going or we are backwards or forward. So that's all that maybe I would like to say. And I also want to say that I'm not really coming here because I want to plead to be taken back to the police. You know, I looked at what some of the work I followed, not everything I was able to see, that is happening here. But I felt that there is other part of the gap that has not yet been ventilated, which when the reforms of either policy or legislation are happening, must be taken into consideration. And one also of the thoughts that I had is that maybe the national commission, as I heard in some of this discussion, is a very powerful position to be a national commissioner, and it is autonomous. Maybe there is a need, like in the state security SITA, a CEO there reports to the board. So maybe there might be a need that there be a board in the police that is independent, where the CEO accounting office reports to, so that when there's things like this are happening, because it's unlike there is no proper legislation or policy, everything is there. It is just a human person who decide to break all these rules and do things in a particular, knowing that no one will tell me I'm the alpha and omega. Maybe there is a need for such a body, that the national commissioner, so that when people get frustrated, and I'm saying this as a deputy national commissioner, there are many other people who are suffering the similar challenge that I've suffered. There is even a PC in Mpumalanga who's sitting exactly in a similar position like I have. There are junior people who cannot even be able to appoint a lawyer, who are suffering the similar challenges. So I know time is against us, but thank you very much.
General, the last section of your affidavit, of your statement, I don't want to leave anything out because we are at the end. It deals with various topics relating to irregular transactions. And I don't wish to stop you, just, you're stopping short of just dealing with that section. At 110, you mention an official trip to Turkey by the National Commissioner. Do you wish to testify on that still, or do you?
I think,
You are,
yeah, they will read for them. So they can ask me questions about
on that.
the honorable members if they do. I think we've covered most of the most important aspects. And I want to thank the chairperson and the honorable members, together with the evidence leaders, for granting me this opportunity. I must say, I might be lucky because I managed to push up until my retirement time. Some people don't even arrive where I have arrived. So definitely it may be a minor thing, an HR matter, a disciplinary matter, but it has got a very huge impact in the wellness of the organization and the impact of on service delivery. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, General.
Kalanga.
Honorable Chair, remember it is a borrowed surname, so I don't know all the details of the surname. So don't.
The oral history in African context is told by women, because most of the men were migrant workers and things happened in their absence. That is why in most of our ceremonies, women are the ones who recite our praises, because the men do not know them. They were at Stokwa Hostel in Tembisa or many other hostels that you know in the country. So that can never be an excuse. You are Kalanga. Thank you so much. for the presentation of evidence that has been made here and the profound remarks that you have made at the conclusion of your statement that the attitude of the committee must not be that this is about you, but it's about lived human experiences in our state institutions. And it is out of these experiences that we draw relevance to how we can reshape our legislative and policy instruments so that we can serve our people better. But because we are human beings and also understanding the past we come from, even if we do not say it expressly or in any way explicit, the cries of a woman are not silenced and can never be in vain. And having said that, we don't mean that you are justified. We're just saying that when a woman cries, it's not the kind of a matter you can turn a blind eye to. It will need you to be circumspect and arrive at a decision that will make sure that if such practices were wrong, they never happen again. Thank you so much, Advocate Mkhize. We want to thank you so much. Honorable members, I want to give you a 15 minutes break. I would like to give you a 15 minutes break. Okay, I wanted to hear that because I thought those were mamas of dissatisfaction. So the reason why I give you 15 minutes break is because we are now going into a marathon session, but also to give you a chance to canvass each other on when you come back, how do you want to lobby the chair on time allocation? I have seen that Honorable Sol say when the matter was decided yesterday, you were still out and you wanted Honorable Malema to explain why did he agree to 20 minutes. So I'm giving you enough time now to lobby each other. When you come back here, for sure all of you will be presenting a united view. Is it okay, honorable members? Thank you. Honorable Skosana, 15 minutes break. We are coming back at 3:30.